Hello, everyone. I'm going to go over how to use Think Central. I know you might have watched a video before, but I really want you to understand what Think Central is going to look like on your student end. So I'm going to walk you through it today. You need to practice today because starting next week, we will be using Think Central almost every day. So it's important to really understand how to use this website. So there will be a link that you can follow to Think Central. Once you're there, you're going to need to help your child put in this information: the country, the state, our district, and our school. See this button right here? It is extremely important that you click the check mark. Remember my school. If not, all of this information you put in will be gone the next time you go on. So you want to save this information. Okay. Username, that is your child's 7-digit ID number. Okay. It's in part of their Google ID. Okay. It's that number. Some of them start with a 2, like 20 or 10. I'm going to use just a fake one to get in that I made. Okay. So that would be the username, would be your child's ID number. Okay, and then the password is the same number. You've got to put it in all over again. So here's my fake number. I'm going to put in my number all over again. Okay, so again, it's your child's ID number, just that number. It's a 7-digit number, and then their password, same 7-digit number. Okay, then you hit login. My suggestion to you is to bookmark this information, save it. Okay, that way, since you're going to be going to this site, you want to make sure that you can access it easily. I always put a link. I usually put a link in our Google Classroom to Think Central, but you should also bookmark it as well. This is what it looks like when you enter. Mine says fake student because I made a fake student account. However, yours will have your child's name. You have a things to do section, my library, my scores. The section that we use the most is things to do. Okay, so I'm going to click on things to do. It's going to take me to a list of assignments. Okay, so I put a whole bunch of assignments in because I want to show you a variety. The assignments will be listed on Google Classroom by name. So if you were to do a certain activity that day, the name will be on Google Classroom, and then you just have to find it on here. So first off, I'm going to show you math. So one of the assignments for math that I want us to work on today would be Personal Math Trainer, or PMT 1.1. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. See how it's underlined in blue? I have the hand. I click on it. It's going to make me click on it again. Every time that you do an activity in Think Central, you have to click on it twice. So I'm clicking on it again, and now it will open my assignment. So it gives me directions here, which tells me about my arrows, that I can use it to go on to the next question or go backwards. It talks to me about save and close if I want to exit, and turn in. Okay, and then there's help features, but we'll go over that as we go through. Okay, these speakers will allow the question to be read to me, which is a nice feature if your child is working for the most part on their own. They can listen to the speaker, it will read it to them. Okay, everything has a speaker. So it's asking select how many. So I have 3 fish and 1 more fish. How many is that altogether? Okay, so I know that the answer is 4 because I'm adding that together. So I click on 4. See how it changes the color? And then down here, this is the nice part about the personal math trainers, is you can check your answer. So I click this button.
You did it!
And it tells me I did it right. Once I do that, I can go on to the next question. Okay, notice this green mark up here, this green check, that means that the work has been checked. If there's no green check mark, it means that your child did not check their answer on that problem. So now, here's another problem. Select how many, 2 B's and 2 more B's. So I'm just going to get this problem wrong just to show you what it looks like if it's not right. So if I select 3 and I hit check my answer,
Try again.
it'll tell me to try again, and it'll give me a tip up here. It says, you almost got it. You did not select enough B. So it means I need a higher number question. Okay, so I can exit out of that, and it lets me change my answer. So I'm going to try again. Okay, now it's 4.
Well done.
Check my answer. Okay, so I'm going to continue this way until I've done all the problems. Now, on the side, so I'll keep going, keep answering. Because if I don't answer all my problems, for example, if I try to turn it in right now, turn it in. It says you haven't answered all the questions. Are you sure you're finished? Well, no, I'm not finished, because if I get this message, I need to answer the rest of the problems. So I'm going to say, are you sure you're finished? No. And I'm going to keep going and answering all the questions. Okay, so now I've gotten to the last problem. Notice that now that I've solved it, it says check answer. There's no more next button. That means I'm at the last problem. So I check my answer.
Well done.
And now that I'm finished, I want to turn it in. So this is important. You have save and close. Well, you can save and close if you're not finished, but when you finish an activity, you want to turn it in. If you don't hit the turn in button, it doesn't let me know that you're finished. It tells me you're still working on it. Okay, so you really want to try to do an activity all the way through and then turn it in. Save and close, sometimes people forget to go back and turn it to finish and turn it in. So I'm going to hit turn it in. Okay, and it takes me back here. Well, it says assignment details. I already did this. It now says completed, but I had other things that I needed to work on. So I need to go back to things to do. So I have to click back on things to do, and it takes me back in. Do you remember this list that we looked at in the beginning? There's all our things. So I'm going to show you one more thing that we have for math. The personal math trainer that we just did will also be how you take most of your tests. When you go to take your test, though, it will not allow you to check your answer. So when you turn it in, it will give you a score. Okay, so when you've done things, you can check your scores. That says my scores. Okay, you haven't done any tests yet. Okay, but down here, we've done the personal math trainer and it gave me 100%. So if I'm checking my answers as I go, normally I would get them all right on the personal math trainer. However, when you do a test, your score might look different because there's no check your answer button. Okay, so tests on Think Central for math look just like what we did, except for there's no check your answer. Let me go back to things to do. I want to show you a game that a lot of times I assign games on Think Central. So here's the game. Then again, remember I have to click on it again. Notice it has a different name. That's okay. I title things a little bit differently, so that way it's easier for you to pick from and understand what you're choosing. So I just click on it again. Now, this comes up frequently when you go to play games. It says click to enable. So you might have to have a puzzle, you might see a puzzle piece, you click on it, and you want to allow it. That happens almost every single time when you go to play a game on Think Central. So it takes a few minutes, it will load, and then there'll be a game to play. But I wanted to make sure you understood that when you see a puzzle piece, you have to click on it and allow. So the game should come up here, and it's loading, and then you'll be able to play the game. They go over the directions.
In this module, you will use blocks to show numbers.
So they'll go through all the buttons, but you want to exit, you can hit the exit button. And I'm going to hit the tab up here. Okay, so you have to hit the tab at the top to close it out and bring you back to Think Central. So I'll go back here. All right, so that usually stays on there. If you have played the game and you're not interested in playing anymore, you can always hit done. The game stays up for a while. Eventually I delete it off or I add a new game. It's not something that I check. All right, so now let me show you reading. Okay, so I'm going to start with what is a pal, which is going to be our first story that we will actually be doing in our book. So I'm going to click on what is a pal. And it says student book, what is a pal? So I click on it again. So remember, the titles sometimes are different on for the second click, but it's okay. Now, since you don't have your textbooks with you, this is a copy of your textbook on the computer. It allows you to be able to read the stories for the week. We will use this every single week. We go on here, we read the stories that are on here, and then we'll do different activities. So we come to Think Central frequently. See all these little speakers? That allows things to be read. So any of these items can be read. This is just the introduction. You can meet the author. Then when you click the next, it'll start with our story, What is a Pal? Everything that has a speaker, you want to click on, especially in the beginning because we're just starting to learn how to read. Okay, so you click on the speaker and it will read it for you. You use these arrows over here to turn to the next page. So you can keep reading through. You hit all the speakers, you read it. The first day we usually have them listen to the story and by hitting the speakers. And then we try to have the children read the story on their own. So on other days, it might say, read the story on your own before continuing. So that was our story. And you know that you're finished because the story ends and you'll see other things. So you don't need to go onto the other pages. As you can see, it's a textbook, so it will continue on. And you can keep turning as many pages as you want, but it'll keep going on to the next story. So you don't need to do that. Once you hit the end of the story, like we saw, you can just stop there. Okay, end of the story, you click and you see this, you know the story's over, and you don't need to continue clicking forward because it'll just keep going on, just like a normal book would. So that is our story, and that's how we look at our story and read our story. So again, when we're finished, we can just click out of the tab and it'll take us back here. Of course, we go back to things to do. Okay. This again, it has that where you can mark it done. You want to leave that open because you want to be able to go back to the book. So please don't mark the reading the book done because I want you to be able to hear the story again, and we'll be coming back to them. So again, I don't look at whether or not you mark these done or not on Think Central. I'd like you to leave them open so you can read them again. Okay, so for an activity on the first day, I might assign you the story, What is a Pal? And then I'll assign you a follow-up for What is a Pal? Again, those directions will be in Google Classroom as well. So follow-up for What is a Pal? I'd click on that. Again, remember 2 times. Okay, and it goes through, it gives you directions again about the next button, the back button, score test button. Okay, see the puzzle pieces? You might need to
think about the article. What is
the puzzle pieces might show up at first, but again, when you hit them, they'll start playing. You have all these speakers. All the speakers can be hit. It will read everything to your child so that they know what to do. They can hit the speakers more than once. It will read the questions and it will read the answer choices. Okay. However, we want to work towards your child being able to read the questions and the answer choices on their own. But for now, we can hit the play button. Or you can read the question to your child and have them try to read the answer choices out loud to you. Okay. So they would pick their answer. And I didn't read the question. So there we go. Okay, you only have 2 choices, clear answer or next. There is no check your answer. So we don't want to hit clear answer because then it'll disappear. You don't need, if you hit the wrong one, you just change it by moving to the next one. Okay, we hit next. Okay, same thing, we have to answer all the questions. If we don't, it will tell us that we missed something. So I'm going to finish this and show you what happens next. Okay, so I got to the end and notice there's no more button that says next. It says score test. So I'm going to click on score test. It says all questions have been answered. So again, I have to say score test. Think Central likes to ask you to click more than one time. Then it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to score the test? Yes, I'm sure. So I'm going to hit OK. So again, it asks you many times, and then it tells you how you did. There was 4 questions. You got all 4 right. It'll show you here. here's our key. Tells us which ones are wrong. If you want to see if you got one wrong and you want to check it and see what it was, you can click this blue arrow and it'll drop down and it'll actually show you what you chose and it'll put a check mark next to the right answer. So if you made a mistake, that's how you can check and see what you got wrong. Okay, so I can close this out. And again, I got to go back to things to do. Remember, every time when I finish an activity, back to things to do. Okay, so we looked at what is a POW, we looked at the follow-up. Now notice when I take a test, like my personal math trainer, or I take the follow-up that I just did, it disappeared. So anytime that there's an activity that asks you to answer questions, when you're finished and you turn it in or score it, it disappears from your list. Okay, so the next thing I have that we will also do every week is a story, another story. So here's another name of a story. I have to hit it again. Now, this will look a little bit different because this is a different type of story. This is not a story from the regular reading book. These are small readers. Notice there is no speakers. That is because they want you to be able to sound out the words to read the story. Okay, so this story is Nat Cat. There's no speakers. You have to work on reading these words. Okay, so they're short stories. Now, what I do want to show you as I go through and I finish reading this story is it continues on. There's several stories that I could have assigned, but I usually only pick one. If you would like your child to read you another story, feel free to go through. There are several stories in here. There's another story after this. So you can keep going if you want to. If not, when you're finished with your story, again, just exit out of the tab at the top. It takes you back to Think Central. Okay, you can go back to Things to Do and see there's a follow-up for NatCat. And again, it will be assigned on on Google Classroom, so you'll know the names of things that you have to click on for that day. So I'm going to click on that, follow-up for NatCat. Okay, so again, this looks exactly the same. Okay, where there's your puzzle pieces, but if you click on them, they'll become speakers. There you go. And you answer the questions and score test at the end, just like you did before. These are phonics questions, so you'll notice that they don't really have to do with the story. However, they still have the same sounds and of the words that you saw in the story. Okay, so that is the follow-up. So you would answer that. And again, it'll tell you how you did. So I'm going to pick on random ones just so that you can see what happens. And say I want to be done. And I'm like, oh, let me score my test. Oh, look, I skipped these questions. So I've got to go back to the test and finish them. Again, I'm just picking random because I do want to show you what it looks like if you get some that are wrong. Okay, I'm at the end. It doesn't say next. It says score test. I answered all the questions this time. Score test again. Okay, want to do it. All right. So it tells me I had 2 out of 4. I got some wrong. So again, check marks. I have it correct. Here's my X. I got them wrong. So I go back and then it shows me this is what I picked. It was wrong. This is what I should have picked. So I can do that to see what answers I should have picked. I can close that out, go back to things to do, and notice all the things that were assigned are missing except for things that can stay on there, like what is a pal, not the cat. Remember, those were stories. So we can leave them on so that you can go back and look at them again. They will eventually clear out of the classroom. If we've moved on to a different week and you're ready to get rid of them, all you have to do is hit done and they disappear. Okay. But you don't want to do that until you're finished the week with them. Okay. So I'm going to hit done. All right. The last thing I want to show you is my library. So I'm going to click on my library. There are extra activities that you can do in here. You have to change it though from math and reading back and forth. So one of the things that the kids usually really like in math is math on the spot videos. So this math on the spot, you click on that, it loads. You want to go to the right lesson. So we just did 1.1. So 1 stands for grade 1. So we're in grade 1. And then we go 1.1 is chapter 1. and lesson 1, say 1.1. So the Math on the Spot video goes along with the lesson that we did. So they have them for all the lessons in each chapter. So you can listen to them. The kids usually really like them, and it's just something extra that you can go on. So that's always available to you. It's not something I assign. Again, it's in the library. You can click on them. When you want to get out, you just exit out your tab and you're back here. So there's other things that they can look at in here. I can switch it to library, the library to reading. Now all the reading pops up. So there's other things. There's leveled readers that you can look at. There's our student book, which I usually assign the pages, but you can go in there anyway. Here's some big books. Okay, so there's just extra activities that you can use and explore with your child. So I hope that helped with Think Central. I know it's a lot of information, but we will be using Think Central almost every day. So it is important for you to understand how to get in and what to do and how to use Think Central. All right, thank you for watching.